Hey loves, it's Britt, and in this video I'm going to talk about what it means to have the Sun in conjunct to Mars in Synastry. So the inconjunct or the quincunx aspect works a lot differently than the square. So I needed to make a separate video for this aspect. So the quincunx or the inconjunct has a lot more of an internal feeling in Synastry, whereas the square is a lot more external butting of heads and a lot of action. The inconjunct aspect just creates this general feeling of uneasiness, and with the planets of Sun and Mars being inconjunct, these are very outward energies, right? Unless we've got them in some super introverted signs, generally the Sun and Mars want to express themselves. So, with this aspect in Synastry, there can be a lot of peculiar feelings, a bit of awkwardness. The Sun person can be kind of like straight up downright judgy of the way the Mars person acts at times, although they might not outwardly say that. Like I said, with the inconjunct aspect, is that it's not so overt. There's not like this outward conflict or this like huge incompatibility. There's just this general feeling of kind of like uneasiness or weirdness. Like, what is this person doing? I just don't understand it. Like, so the Sun person doesn't really understand why the Mars person acts like that. And the Mars person doesn't really understand the Sun person's motivations in life and their goals and their outward energy. So there can be, yeah, a bit of judgment on both sides. More so, probably Sun judging the Mars as just someone who is not maybe helping them further their goals or towards their purpose. And then the Mars person can really feel like the Sun person is bossy or inhibiting or like just like a stick in the mud. They're blocking them in their instinctual action. So this can be kind of uncomfortable, but it's not a deal breaker or anything like that. A lot's going to depend on like the two individual egos. Like, what do we have going on here? Because the Sun and Mars are the masculine ego of a person. And when I say masculine, I don't just mean in men. Obviously, women have a masculine ego as well. So it's like the masculine principle in someone. And so when these are in this awkward inconjunct aspect, there's just a lack of understanding on so the Sun person just doesn't understand the Mars person's drives and how they're acting, how they're asserting themselves, and how they're going after what they want. They can find like the Mars person's approach to be like kind of immature or just, yeah, they just don't really get it. And then, yeah, like I said, the Mars person is like, I don't really understand like why the Sun wants that or why the Sun is like that. Like, so it's just, yeah, a kind of a judgy aspect. Um, but it can work. Like, it's just with an inconjunct aspect, you have to really understand like the two different signs going on here and what wants to be expressed, because that's the problem with the inconjunct aspect, where it's not like the opposition or the square where we actually become more of these energies and then we kind of like come to battle each other with these energies. It's like with the inconjunct, whoever's the weaker sign, and like when I say the weaker sign, I mean like the less dominant sign is probably going to submit to the will of the other more stronger sign. So like for example, let's say we've got like the Sun in Aries making an inconjunct to Mars and Virgo or something, right? And the Virgo probably is going to be more likely to submit and serve the Sun person's ego and to kind of water their Mars down a bit so that the Sun person's ego feels more comfortable, kind of thing. Now, it doesn't have to be like that, but like that's just one example of what can happen here. it's not always going to happen like that. It's just like with certain more dominating personalities, you could see with this aspect that like one person's ego is getting totally just like submerged by the other person's ego. So it's like kind of like who's stronger. And all of this is happening like unconsciously too. So it's not that the sun person is consciously thinking, "Oh, I'm going to squash Mars here," or even it could be the other way. It's not that Mars is thinking, "Oh, I'm going to just squash the sun person's ego." It's like they just don't naturally work well together. And I really do believe that the inconjunct aspect is probably more difficult than the square to come to resolution. So it can sometimes take, like I said, one person giving up that part of themselves and like letting the other person lead or be the boss or whatever, but that's not going to lead to happiness. So, with this aspect, you have to find a way for both of your individual egos, so your sun and your Mars, to be able to work together. And so, sometimes maybe one of you's going to have to step down and let the other do the leading, or, it's going to have to switch, right? So, it's sometimes the inconjunct aspect in synastry leads to one person having to give up some of the times and let the other person take the lead. And when we're talking masculine planets like Sun and Mars, it's usually the ego. Or with Mars, it could be the actions. They can feel like they can't fully be themselves, which is quite different to when we have a Sun Mars conjunction, or even the square where both people kind of go on overdrive and like being an even more stronger version of their sun and Mars. In this one, it's like a little bit more subservient, or someone has to let the other person be more manly or be more of the leader at times. So, yeah. And sexually, too, with this aspect, it can create an attraction based on feeling like we found this kind of mysterious person that we don't really understand. So there's like attraction based on ways we are same, and then there's attraction based on ways that we're dealing with some kind of alien freak. And that this would be the latter, where it's like we can find this person to be just so different to it. Maybe they're physically just not our type, but for some reason we feel attracted to them. And it's just physically there could be something a little bit different about this couple. It's like maybe we don't look like a match, maybe we don't physically work together that well. Like it could show different energy levels too, because the sun can represent our physical vitality and Mars can represent our physical energy as well. So when we're having them in an inconjunct, there's just something different. And it could be like that, one of you's a bodybuilder and one of you is like a ballet dancer or something. Like it could be something just, there's something different about this. Now, it doesn't mean that it's incompatible. You're probably not going to butt heads as much as if it were the square or the opposition, but it just might require more collaboration, more cooperation, more understanding, because that's the problem with the inconjunct is we just don't understand each other. So with this inconjunct, we don't understand the motivations, the physicality of it, and so it's going to take some work, it's going to take some communication. And hopefully if you've got other good aspects between like Venus and Mars or something, or even like Mercury to Mars, so we can have more in common there, and then this isn't going to be so awkward or so difficult. But if we don't have much else in common and we have this one, you can just start to feel like, what am I doing here? My ego's not being validated. I'm not feeling like I can act normally and be myself. And then you're probably not going to like being in this relationship. So yeah, I'd love to know your experience of this aspect. Thanks for the request, you guys. Yeah, let me know in the comments more requests that you have. And yeah, let me know how this one felt for you. Was it like this? Was it not like this? Let me know, and thanks for watching. Bye.